Hey, good evening and welcome to our Council and Committee of the Whole meeting for April 7th, 2026. Bienvenue à notre réunion de conseil pour le 7 avril. We'll begin this evening with the land acknowledgement and I'll pass the floor to Councillor Gagné.
Thank you, Madame Mairesse. Je souhaite prendre un moment pour souligner l'importance du territoire sur lequel nous sommes rassemblés. La municipalité de Nipissing-Ouest reconnaît avec respect que nous sommes réunis sur les terres ancestrales des peuples Anishinaabe, sur les territoires traditionnels des Premières Nations Nipissing, Temagami et Dokis, désignés par le traité Robinson-Huron. Nous honorons leur lien historique avec le territoire et nous valorisons leur contribution considérable au façonnement et au renforcement de nos communautés. Ce faisant, nous réaffirmons notre engagement et notre responsabilité envers la réconciliation et l'amélioration de notre compréhension des peuples autochtones, locaux et de leur culture. Merci.
Merci, Councillor Gagné. Next, I'll take declarations of community interest. Seeing none. We have no addendum this evening, so 3.2 agenda, please, Madam Clerk.
It is moved by Councillor St. Louis and seconded by Councillor Nicol. Be it resolved that the agenda for the Council and Committee of the Whole meeting held on April the 7th, 2026 be adopted as presented.
Okay, questions or comments? I'll just note that 5.4 unfinished business, there had been a item that was on the agenda as published on Thursday that has been removed at the request of the Chateau in order just to have a little bit more time to provide us with additional information on that. So the updated agenda in yellow is that's what we're going on. Questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 4, Committee of the Whole. We have 3 items under general government and all are under municipal property dispositions. 4.1.1.1.1. There's a lot. The Booth Street Road Allowance and Mr. Pidon, would you like to take that one or shall I?
Yeah, I'll just open up by thanking Madam Clerk for putting this together, and I will shift it over to her. She's the president expert on this piece, and I'll let her walk us through this.
Okay, thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. A request came in to purchase a portion of an unmaintained road allowance, which is runs between Cash Street and Mary Street. The road allowance has never been maintained by the municipality, and the requester is the owner of a parcel that lies in behind the municipal building, and it doesn't have any access to the municipal road. The request was to purchase the land to add on to his property so that he has access to the this property from Cash Street.
Okay, thank you. I'll open the floor to our councillors for questions or comments. Councillor St. Louis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. He's looking to access from Cash or from Mary?
From Mary.
From Mary, sorry.
Mary.
I
Okay.
misspoke. I
Okay,
apologize.
I guess my only question is, if we deem this surplus, we're gonna follow the same process that we have for everything else. It's gonna go out to tender to whomever.
That is the direction, if that's the direction of council, sometimes we sole source, sometimes we put it up for tender. This isn't a surplus land though. This is a road allowance, so this has a little bit different process. It has to be closed by bylaw, and there is a process for closing road allowances. So the municipality would make a notification that it proposes to close the road allowance, which would provide opportunity to persons who have comments or have said to make those comments. But it's up to council as to whether they want to deal with the offer that's on their table from this gentleman, or whether they would prefer to go through the road closing bylaw process and see what falls out of that.
May I ask Jerry, so I guess I can. I'll just ask a follow-up question to that. For the road closure notification, is there a radius from the property that is, or is it just the abutting landowners to the road allowances of abutting landowners to the entire road allowance or just the section that we're looking at? So if you can just outline who would be notified and how.
There is no legislation that governs this, but it has been our practice to notify anyone who reflects it, who would have, who would benefit or not from the closure. And it's up to council whether they want to close the entire road allowance or whether they just want to deal with this piece. I would recommend, or my recommendation would be to close the entire road allowance. The remainder piece remains in the municipality's name, but closure of an unmaintained road allowance does mitigate liability to the municipality in the long run.
Other questions or comments? Councillor Larrabee?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, does this road services any other lots? Or does it service the a portion of the municipality? Or this is just a dead end going nowhere that only accommodates one person?
Well, no, it actually abuts a variety of property. It was set out on the original Cache Bay subdivision, and why it was never developed, why it was never built. I can assume there are a few of them in Cache Bay. There's a lot of there's areas where there's a lot of rock, and my guess would be that perhaps it wasn't conducive to running services, so that's why it was left the way it is. There are lots that abut it on both sides.
But they're private?
Yes, they're all privately owned.
Well, if that's the case, I'd be in favor of declaring it surplus and have anybody that would be interested in buying it and would sell it to the highest bidder.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Pazarian?
The area on red. That,
That's the land of the person who's requesting to buy it.
okay, so if we were to sell the land that's in yellow, wouldn't he be landlocked?
No, it's to sell it to him.
No, I know, but if we're talking about putting it for bids,
But yes, well, at the present, he's not landlocked. At the present, he has frontage on a municipal road allowance. However, it's unmaintained. And he's not capable, because it's non-maintained, he can't really do anything. He can't build a driveway or anything like that. It's public land. It's just not open traveled public land.
but is it the piece that's in yellow you're talking about?
Yes,
So if we sell it to somebody else, he becomes landlocked.
yes.
Oh,
Okay,
Well,
so
he could, from the other end, he could still get at it from the other end.
there's no,
So I'll just clarify that the road allowance that's in question here runs all the way through from Mary to Anderson Street. So the entire like right now, there's a full road, a block. If that road were to be developed, it would connect Mary to Anderson. And so he is looking to purchase just a portion of that road allowance.
so right now, where is his access?
He does.
Through Madam Chair, he doesn't have any vehicular access. He has footpath only from Mary Street
Or Anderson.
or Anderson Street.
And he's got a residence on?
Oh, no, it's just vacant land.
Oh, it's just vacant land. Okay, so he still has access from the other side. So it's a lot that's, 66 by 315 feet,
Approximately, yes.
which is a nice lot.
yes.
So the whole lot.
Yeah, you're right. Like 66 is a lot, I guess. Councillor Larrabee.
Let's give it a mayor. If he's unsuccessful in buying that piece of land, since that that driveway goes right through to Anderson, mind you, there's a lot of trees there, but that could be an access for that lot also.
Yes, I wouldn't recommend, if council chooses to close the road allowance in its entirety, I would not recommend selling it all off without making arrangements for this person to continue to have access from public property. But yes, he could access it from either end. I'm assuming the request was made to come off of Mary because it's the shorter.
Mhm.
And it's a bit
That
clear.
kind of changed my position a bit on this issue. Because now you've got the person that's landlocked if it does not go to him. So I would prefer to have it appraised and sell it to him because he's the only one actually in there that landlocked if he doesn't get it.
Councillor Restul.
You, Madam Mayor. Just a question. I understand everything that's been discussed so far.
Mm.
But just looking at the other properties there, and I'm looking probably at the piece of the unopened road allowance to the left of it, I guess, on our picture. Are any of those property, are those all sold? Are they all owned by people? And my rationale for my question is, if we're selling that piece off, and this will become this individual's private land to access his lot, does that limit other people from accessing other lots in that area?
Oh, sorry.
Madam Clerk.
No, they're all of the lands which abut this road allowance all have access from other municipally maintained road allowances.
Okay, so this
They like,
is-
there's a couple of lots on Anderson. They're very, very deep. But
Okay.
they front on Anderson Street.
Okay, so if this wouldn't preclude anyone from being able to access any other lots, if we go ahead with this.
No,
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I'll just give my thoughts briefly on it, and I'm not entirely certain. But what I see in this block is a lot of undeveloped land in the middle, and if we close that road allowance, it would preclude any future development. And I understand that all of the lots as they are currently divided have frontage on, all of the other lots have frontage on Main Road. You could see that, I don't know what the geography is in that area, but there could be a possibility of, say, one of the deep lots off Anderson being able to do severances, or we've got a block of land within an urban serviced area that is largely undeveloped in the center of that block, and to take away that road allowance takes away future development possibilities in that area. And even with geography, as Madam Clerk said, we don't know exactly why that road wasn't actually built when it was laid out as part of the original town planning for Cache Bay. But maybe the servicing is really expensive, and that's why it hasn't happened. There's a whole bunch of kind of variables there that we don't have the answer to. But to close it now will basically mean that what we see now is as it will remain, that there will never be any additional lot development or housing development in that specific block, because those areas would not have access to a road. And so that's kind of my misgiving about that I don't know. Again, I don't know how realistic an expectation that any of those lots could be severed. And there's one that has a funny shape, and he has road access both from Anderson and then access off the side of the property to that Booth Street road allowance. So that would impact too. So I don't know.
It's entirely, council can sell part of it or none of it, or remain status quo. It's entirely, this is a municipal asset, so it's entirely within council's purview to do as.
Does the property owner currently have rights to access his property over the road allowance as it exists?
Yes,
If he wanted to put gravel down, would he be able to do that? So he could drive in and drive? Can he drive in and out?
Not currently, no.
I mean, practically, but legally as well. Like, if he wanted to drive his car through the grass to get to his property, could he?
I believe,
Okay, but practically. no.
but practically, there's no
Or we-
driveway there.
Yeah. So is there any,
Be up to council if they wanted to enter into some sort of license agreement or lease agreement or right-of-way agreement or something which would create a situation where he could legally create a driveway, but without some kind of paperwork in place, I wouldn't recommend we
Yeah.
people shouldn't do work on municipal property.
understood? Okay, other,
To answer one of your questions, right now, he would not be able to drive in there because there's a massive ditch.
like on the entry, like off Mary Street?
Off Mary,
Okay,
there's a big ditch.
okay. Okay, Councillor Rivard?
Thank you. Just after looking at the map, it kind of looks like either 14 or the other house directly to the east has been maintaining that. If they have, I'm not too sure, but it looks like it's better kept. Like, to me, I wouldn't mind opening it up to all three of them for the bid. And then, because that little red parcel could still be accessed by Mary Street if it's doable in some way. And then that way we'd be maximizing, the use of that unopened or that road allowance. Because then you could still access the red parcel from, what is it? Not Mary Street, Anderson Street. And
Mhm.
Mary Street, that little portion could either, if 14 or that other smaller parcel want it, then they can, as surplus, they can bid on that. That's my
And just,
opinion on it.
Through you, late this afternoon, I did receive actually an email from the owner of 14 and 10 Mary Street, which are the two parcels that Mr. Rivard is referring to, indicating that they would have an interest should council determine to sell this land. They would be interested in acquiring it as a lot addition to their properties as well.
Yeah, and to follow up, that was my idea, was that it would maximize that road allowance by that unused land that's probably rocky and more tree covered. If he just wants to put a driveway in there to access the land, and then the other land is more useful to 10 and 14 Mary. Thank you.
Okay. So the process on these is first to do a road closure
Yes,
by bylaw.
that's correct.
So the decision that council needs to make today is whether we wish to proceed with the closure of the road, and it is your recommendation that we do the entire length of it, like from Mary to Anderson.
That's correct.
Okay, and then once that is completed, that would come to council as a bylaw to adopt for the closure once the appropriate steps have been taken by our clerk's office. And once that was done, then it would come back to council to decide whether we wish to dispose of the property and how. So the only decision we need to make today is whether we want to proceed with the road closure. Correct?
That's fine.
Okay, so I'll just put it to an informal vote, and it would come back for bylaw for official adoption at the next meeting. Is that a question or a pre-vote, Jamie? Or sorry, Councillor Risto?
Same as pre-vote.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, all in favor? All right, it's not even a vote. Yes. Yeah, I only saw the three hands on the screen. Okay, so if that can come back, just the closure, when it's ready, it won't necessarily be next meeting, because
No,
you have to do the
notify.
notifications, and so it might take the month for it to come back. Councillor Pellerin?
Is that only for the yellow part or for the
No,
whole?
for the whole,
The whole. Okay.
okay, and we can decide how to split that, and if we wanna sell it after it's.
Good, thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda, the request to purchase part of Northcote Street. And this is a file that we had seen previously at council. Ms. Gillon?
Yes, I will hand it off once again to Madam Clerk.
Through you, Madam Mayor, The council will recall that last year they had received a request to acquire the portion that's shown hashed in red as a lot addition to 544 Sabourin. The owner of the property, kind of a hockey stick type shaped property to the east of that, is requesting to acquire the lower middle portion of the property to add on to their property. Just as a means of actually, they all have relatives who live at 550 and they could skidoo over, I guess. That would be the request that's on the table, is the portion that's shown in navy on your sketch. And then if we're going to close those portions of the road allowance, it would be my recommendation to close that lower portion too, in the event that that property should wish to acquire it in the future and it's already surveyed.
Questions or comments on that? Councillor Pellerin?
Well, how wide is that piece?
66.
Oh, is there service in that area?
I had actually asked those questions, that even though it appears that there is a street that's kind of northeast of Cache Bay Road, runs parallel, that again is an unopened road allowance. The diagonal that runs parallel to Cache Bay Road is an unopened road allowance, so there's no actual road there, it's just showing the road allowance. So, I had asked whether that property, the one in green, could be sold as a standalone lot at 66 wide. But there is no road and there are no services at the back end of those properties, so it's unlikely. Other questions or comments?
Just
Oh,
one more minute here.
wait.
So the piece in blue will be added to the proposed severance, which has access
From Sabourin.
from Sabourin on the other side, and the access is 66 feet.
That was actually a different road allowance that was disposed of in a prior council term. That hockey stick shaped
Okay.
piece.
Just to access that piece at the back.
That's correct.
So you'd have to build at the back.
Currently, everything outlined in orange and blue is all one ownership. Those lines that I've drawn are proposed severance.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Okay, so,
Okay.
yes, to that, go forward. And when we do this survey, so that right now is one large chunk, so has the road closure?
No, I would bring it at the same time as the
Okay.
other one.
So we'll do a road closure, then we'll need to survey it and cut it into the appropriate size pieces. So
That's
the
correct.
survey costs covered.
By the individual.
By the
I would divide it
individuals.
pro rata and we would be responsible for the
For
lower
the
piece.
lower piece.
Yeah.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Everybody's okay with that one going forward? Okay, it will come back as same again as a bylaw at a future meeting. And the last item on general government, Mill Street Cache Bay update.
So you have to cash pay. You will recall a month ago, I brought a request to council. There was a request to purchase the back end of a property that the municipality owns, which comes off of Anderson Street. It is not a road allowance. It is in fact a piece of municipal land that was actually part of that larger farm portion to the north of it that you see there. That was all one piece of property. The municipality acquired that strip right through in about 2015 because there was a driveway encroachment off of the I guess it would be the west side. Anyways, that piece of property is effectively, I think I brought the measurements last time, but it's big enough for a standalone lot. And I had recommended at that meeting that it not be sold as a lot addition and that it be sold as a standalone lot. I've subsequently received another interest of it, and I'm just requesting whether council wishes to place it for tender as opposed to a sole source.
Okay, questions or comments? So I'd just like to see, who would be in favor of going forward with a tender on that piece of property, which has already been declared surplus?
Not yet.
Okay, sir. Okay. So that'll be public tender?
I'm done.
Okay, thank you. That's all for general government. Next on the agenda is 4.2 Planning Committee, and I will pass the chair to Councillor St. Louis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Under the planning committee, we have three items, 4.2.1, 4.2.3. And we'll start with 4.2.1, which is the official plan agricultural land update. And then we'll pass it to Mr. Eno. Provide us with the information. We have two items, I believe it's two.
Correct, Mr. Chair, yeah. As you recall, there was some robust discussion following our town hall meeting with regard to our official plan, and some areas have been rezoned as agricultural. Our municipal planner has been hard at work on this piece. There were two outstanding properties, one that had not been heard, and another that just required some further clarification with regards to some imaging and whatnot. And I will pass the torch over to Ms. Willick to walk us through this. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, so this report covers the two areas we had outstanding still before we officially finalize our agricultural designation in the new official plan. So the first one is a property on Rainbow Road. There are 4 options presented in this report of different ways that the agricultural designation could be applied to this property. You'll note that it is the recommendation that it remain entirely within the designation due to the property's proximity to prime agricultural land identified on the LEAR, the fact that it's really kind of in the core of that. We don't want to further drag out the agricultural designation in this area, as well as we want to make sure that we are consistent with the policies and the way we're in them throughout the municipality. And then the second area is on Road. We had discussed it previously. It seemed that there was some council agreement on removing a portion of it. It was just trying to describe it with my hands wasn't working well. So now you have a visual there. And I will leave it there for any comments or questions. Yes.
Sorry, the second one is on Poitiers Road, not Rainville, right?
Yes, sorry, it's
Okay, so I'll recommend that we start with the first one. And staff are not recommending option 1, 2, nor 3. And basically they're recommending that we keep the whole designation of the area as agricultural. So I'll open it up to questions and comments. Monsieur Padre?
Thank you, Mr. St. This is a file that I brought back. And it's mentioned in the statement that it was brought back after the meeting, which wasn't. We did what I asked the Debbie from Plantscape. So just to clarify things, we did register at the open house. Is it possible to have this on the big screen?
Is this, the east one?
yes.
Yeah.
a call from a good friend this afternoon that's a farmer, and he pointed out that to me that option one together with option 3 would make a lot of sense. Because it would give a slice over here, which is all bush, and a slice at the back to access Alouette Road, which would give an option of severing a few lots. The owner of this parcel owns over 400 acres. He's got over 100 acres of pure bushland. And it says in the report that it could be cleared. And I don't think it can be cleared because that property has been in the family for probably 100 years. And if it could have been cleared, it would have been done already. Because a few years ago, there was some grants, $500 an acre to clear land. So this land is all either low-lying area or, as you can see some spots, it's bedrock. So it's bush, you can't clear it. So what I'm suggesting is option 1, together with option 3 would give it, which would give access to Alouette Road. It would not impact the agriculture, because the agriculture on the neighbor, the line cuts here. So I don't understand why we would put all this and waste over 100 acres of bushland tied to agriculture. It would not hinder agriculture whatsoever. And the municipal drain don't cross that line. This side goes that way, this side goes this way. So I see no reason not to do it this way. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair, I totally agree with what just presented there. The farmland itself, definitely you keep that as farm, you could work it. But that's all trees from the side and the bottom. So that gentleman could do as he wished with that land. You know, like, it's his, he's bought it, been over 100 years in the family, so it's his. So he should be able to do as he wish because it's his land. If the government wants it so bad for farming, then they should buy it because it's his. So if he suggests to keep it aside, what he wants to do, and he's protecting the farmland, he's not asking for the field to become residential. He wants to keep that as farmland. So the rest, he should be able to do as he wish. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Councilor Fada?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want, I agree with Councillor Pellerin. I'll just add that the property is not prime agricultural according to the Lear map. It's adjacent to it. So I don't see a problem with stripping out and in line with option 1 and option 3, stripping out the eastern part and the southern strip, which is mostly bush, rocky, swampy land.
Thank you. Other comments? All right, as for myself, I was of more of the opinion of option 3. More specifically, the last time that we did talk about it, it was brought up that there are other lots already down there, and the line that was put here would give the landowner an opportunity to sever, sell, build, whatever. But whether it's 1 and 3, me, it's neither here nor there. But I also believe that for me, definitely option 3 would have been my preference. So if there is no more questions or comments, we'll put it to a vote just by going by each option. And I will add 1 and 3 at the end and we'll go from there. So who is in favor of option 1 for this agricultural land? So you're not in favor of having it?
Of 1,
Yes, option 1.
1 and 3.
1 and 3.
I'll get to 1 and 3 after also, because 1 and 3 is not there.
Mr. Chair, can I ask another question? In the reports on page 18, and through you, Mr. Chairman, I spoke to Samantha.
Yeah.
That is that the Lear data that were shown in those, is there anything in the agricultural, designation right now that is south of Alouette Road?
Sorry, through, I'm just grabbing the map here to compare the.
Well, I just wondering.
There is not, no.
Okay, thank you. It's the only question.
Okay, so we'll go again. So option 1. Okay. Option 2. No one? Option 3. No. Option 4. 1, and then we'll go to the new one, apparently, option 1 and 3. Is that sufficient for it? Yeah?
Yes.
Enough information. Okay, we'll go to the second one, north side of Poitiers Road. I think there was only one proposal, and I think we had beaten it to death the last time to try to figure out the lines, and Ms. Willett gave us a nice straight line this time. So does anybody have any questions or comments? Nothing? Is everybody good with this proposal? Show of hands if yes. There we go. Thank you. 4.2.2 zoning bylaw update version 2. I'll pass that on to yourself once again, Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you recall, as part of our official plan, we're also doing a full review of our zoning bylaw. And through that, there was a draft version that was brought up and it was discussed with council at length. Many parts of it, there were some parts that we didn't get to it. In turn, staff also had a meeting following that to review all of the proposed amendments and have a more fulsome discussion and gather more information. And Ms. Willett is being gracious enough to track all of those changes and will run us through your permission, Mr. Chair, the results of those discussions, and we'll go from there. Go ahead.
If I may, would you like to kind of do a read through of all of the version 1 changes, or do you want to? If we just question.
Well, if anybody has any specific questions to what was provided to us, I don't think we need to go through every changes unless. Skip that, right?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On page 270.
270 of what?
Of 278, or it's 97 on the comprehensive zoning bylaw. Dated June 1 to 20.
Great. If I may, would you be able to refer to the section number you're speaking about?
Section 9.3.
Of the current bylaw or the proposed bylaw?
I assume it's the current bylaw, but I think it's what I want to talk about is kept in for the maximum building height on agricultural land. Okay, so I had a call today about this, a maximum height of 11 meters, which doesn't doesn't jive with the farmland. Because if somebody wants to build a grain storage or build a silo, you're looking at 60, 70 feet high. So it 11 meters doesn't jive with this.
So, hear you, in the general regulation section of the bylaw, we do have height exceptions, and there are height exceptions for barns, silos, conveyor, grain elevators. So they would not be subject to that height. That height would apply more to, dwelling or non-agricultural buildings.
Okay, I wasn't sure, so I figured I'd bring it up. And the other one was the abattoir, I think, which you wrote something about it. I had a few farmers talk to me about it. I don't understand why the abattoir would pull out of farmland. It goes hand in hand. We're not talking Schneider size there. So if you look at Hager, what's over there, like, it's a small business. And I believe there's a couple people in West Nipissing that are aiming that way. So I think it should be allowed on a small scale, like what's in Eger. Especially these days, we're buy local and buy Canadian, and so.
So through you, there are still provisions for agricultural processing establishment and for agricultural related uses. So a small scale abattoir that's more processing your own cattle, that would fall under that agricultural related with an agricultural processing establishment, which is permitted in the rural and the agricultural zones. This abattoir, as we've defined separately, would be more of a Schneider's operation where it is not associated with the agricultural operation. It is a standalone. That is the business itself, not in support of the local agricultural community.
So what's proposed is the farmer who builds an abattoir would only be able to slaughter his own cattle. What you're saying?
So the current definition in our current bylaw that we've carried through is that it's for the initial cleaning, culling, storing, and packing of products produced on the farm or in conjunction with farms in the vicinity which produce the same agricultural products. So it wouldn't have to necessarily be just on that farm. It's more of this is supportive of the agricultural use. The agricultural use is still the primary activity on that property, whereas an abattoir, which we only permit in the heavy industrial zone, there is no agricultural operation happening in tandem with that. That's the sole use.
So would it be permitted? Again, I'm coming back to the abattoir in Eger. A lot of people bring their beef there, their moose, stuff like this. Would that be classified the same?
So in that case, it is a bit,
That's what I mean.
I don't know if Madam Clerk has any thoughts on that one.
Through you, I am not aware of what the arrangement, I don't know if Charlotte, if that business is part of a larger farm or whether it's a standalone thing. I don't know the business well enough to comment.
It's a standalone. It's been there for, I don't know, many years. And people have been bringing their beef there for years and years. And they only have the license to, you bring your thing there. How you going to say this? They come in, inspector comes and check the meat. So it's all above par.
So it may be the abattoir as defined in the bylaw, not the agricultural processing facility that Ms. Willick has described. which an agricultural processing facility would be where you do it, and your neighbors could bring this or that on from your own farm. But an abattoir like Schneider's, that's all they do is commercial slaughtering and packing. There's no farm related use with it.
Yeah, I know that, but I just want to make sure that if a farmer wants to build an abattoir like we used to have here in town, like Leblanc and others, I hope I don't think the way you're describing that they would be able to do it for the neighbors or for whoever wants to bring a beef there. And I don't think that's right.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, an abattoir would still be permitted, but it would have to be zoned appropriately. Right, so if they're just, I'm just trying to reiterate what I understand from what staff is saying. If it is for support of that farm's operation and neighboring farm's operation on a small scale, it would be permitted. To have a full-scale abattoir not be permitted because it is deemed an industrial operation. There was an explanation that went out a little earlier in regards to the different requirements for that. And I don't know. I mean, is there an option to change that? Is there something in legislation, either provincial legislation as far as that? But, I look at the fact that you have MDS on livestock operations to residential, and we know that throughout our agricultural areas, there are still lands that are as residential. So I think that there would have to be some consideration on whether the location of that is abutting residential uses, even though it's within the agricultural designation. And I don't know, I mean, maybe you could speak to the Ministry of Agriculture and whether there is MDS on abattoirs or what kind of buffers they have to mitigate land use conflicts.
Certainly, there are provincial requirements because it is an industrial use. It does have the noise, the effluent, the odor that goes alongside it. So there are, I believe it's the D6 guidelines that are provincial that would set kind of an influence area buffer around the business that would need to be considered. We could look at adding an abattoir into the rural commercial zone. That way, if there was someone that was looking to establish a full-scale abattoir on their property, they could go through that free zone and zone to the rural commercial zone. And by doing that, it would allow us to do a more in-depth look at it to make sure that they are an appropriate distance from adjacent residential uses. It gives us an opportunity to circulate the neighbors for it, ensure the compatibility in that way.
I'm not in agreement with this, because if you look right in town here, there are a few people that butcher in the garage and have been for years. So it's not like a dairy farm or something like this that there's runoff, the ditches and all this. So an MDS of an abattoir, I don't think, I'm sure it's not as big as an MDS for a lagoon for the farmer. The only thing I want is for a farmer to be able to slaughter his beef or his bison and be able to make a few bucks if the neighbors or whoever wants to bring beef there.
I think though, Conchita, I think she didn't mention stuff, they are permitted to do that as long as it's to the nearby resident or farmers or whatnot, right?
Nearby or 5 miles away is the same. So can you or can't you? And the way you're saying, you can't.
Again, it's less so the specific distance. It's more that this has to be secondary to that agricultural operation. It can't be the sole primary use of the property.
Exactly. That's what I've been saying from the start. It has to be a farmer that uses this as a second business. Like,
Yes, it would be permitted as an agricultural related use.
okay, I just want to make sure because it seems that we've changed the track. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Sarah, you had something earlier?
Sorry,
Okay.
were you asking me?
Yeah, you had your hand up a while ago.
Yes, yes, sorry, I did, I forgot. I just had 2 points that I wanted to raise. The first one being 951 and 952. At the last meeting, we suggested that if lots were created by consent that do not meet the specs of RU, that they should be rezoned appropriately. So how is it proposed to deal with that? Because I'm not sure exactly how we left it at the last meeting as to how we could achieve that. And there's no mention of that in the wording.
The zoning bylaw, we can't put in policy about how to address that because the zoning bylaw is very prescribed as to what can go into that. With that said, it's certainly something that we can incorporate into the official plan policies, that when those severances occur, it is a required condition on that consent. The reason that we kept something in the zoning bylaw is in cases where if one gets missed when we're doing our update, or if you have natural severances that occur because someone has pulled out the road, we just wanted to make sure that there was still some form of clause in the regulations that in those kind of off circumstances where there is an existing or a natural severance, that they do still have that policy that requires them to be subject to the rural residential or shoreline residential. But it's more something in the OP that we can look at, making sure it's clear that it's a condition.
Thank you.
Okay, so if I may, through you, ask a follow-up. I just want to make sure then that's going to be actioned when we win with the OP, because I think that's what we asked for at the last meeting.
Yes, through you. I have a sticky note on my official plan right now. So when we bring back that final version, hopefully in the next meeting or two, we'll make sure that that's something that's included in it.
Okay, thank you. And also my second point was about solar panels. And again, we had a discussion about this at the last meeting, and I'm still not clear. I still don't understand why we are not allowing ground-mounted panels in residential zones, especially if those lots are large enough, and maybe even with the height restrictions, because usually ground-mounted panels, I can understand you wouldn't want the very large ones that you see on farms, but usually ground-mounted panels are not that high, just maybe a bit higher than a fence.
For you, the policies we've put in, so previously they weren't permitted, so we have kind of extended those permissions into the shoreline residential and the rural residential. So those areas are certainly permitted under the version 2. We do want to ensure that we're not creating any visual impacts, certainly not putting it in a front yard where the glare could reflect people driving by. Same thing with backyards when you are in close proximity to your neighbors. We don't want to disturb the neighbors with that glare. That is something we could certainly look at. I did look through some other municipalities and I wasn't able to find one that's a comparable municipality that specifically had any policies regarding a maximum size or height. But we can certainly look into that. It's just trying to find what that size we want.
I'd be curious to see what what the rest of the council members think about this.
Madam Mayor?
Just going for the solar panels, because they're also referenced in 4.2.5 in relation to maximum number of accessory buildings, even though they're not counted as an accessory structure. Is the footprint considered as part of the overall lot coverage?
That will be another challenge with this, because if you are doing ground mounted, are we measuring the pod or the post or the actual panel itself? I would have to check quickly.
Are the other structures that are included in that list in 4.2.5 included when calculating lot coverage?
So through 4.2.6 sets out what's excluded from lot coverage. So currently the proposed regulations do exclude solar panels from that maximum coverage percentage.
Thank you.
Councilor Callahan?
Here comes the sheriff. I don't have a problem with that. Those panels are probably, I think, about 6 feet high by 2 feet wide. And our fences in town are, I think the rules is what, 6 feet? So we raise it up, we put a limit of maybe no higher than 8 feet. So it doesn't go over the fence, the neighbor can't see it if you've got a fence of 6 feet. So I don't see a problem with that.
Councilor Laramie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When the person, let's say, was to build or put up a solar system, but then down the road, his neighbor builds shed roof that blocks the sun from hitting him, then you're gonna be in a, you're gonna have problems. Because you need the sun, it's gonna be directed to the south and all the time. And you even got some that are tracking. So on a small parcel of land, I wouldn't recommend that. But if you got a big size piece of land, like a farm, then okay, as long as that the setup is on a piece of land that's rocky, that you cannot cultivate. Now, the companies do apply to put them on farmland, but they want to put it on flat agricultural ground that you can, for the cattle and stuff. And that's not right. They should put it on the land where it's not you cannot do any agriculture. That's what the program was intended to do, but it kind of changed as it went along. So you need, I suggest you need a fair size piece of land that you cannot block. Somebody cannot block the sun because you invest a lot of dollars in this, and the neighbor decides to build a garage and he's got the right to do it. He blocks your, just to avoid problems down the road. Thank you.
Yep. Any other comments or thoughts? Okay, so what I get out of this, is there, I don't know, is there an appetite, Madam Mayor?
Sorry, I was just gonna say, Councillor Ferrin, you're proposing that ground mounted solar be permitted within the R1, R2, R3s?
Yes, I would propose that if there's no appetite for that, then I'll be happy with having them added to SR and RR.
Yeah.
That's your question.
Well, yeah, so with a show of hands, is there anybody that has the same appetite that Mr. Ferrin, Conseiller Ferrin has to have it with the R1s, R2s, R3? Okay, how about all at the same time?
Now you know the challenge.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. It went from 2 to 6.
There you go.
Okay, so we're gonna add the R1, 2, and 3, I guess. Madam Mayor.
Is it, because we're talking about a much smaller lot size, is there value in limiting size? Like, I don't know how big the actual panels are, like is,
We can
Yeah.
have some of that.
The ones I have are 2x4.
okay,
I got too high. But it's 8 feet.
8 feet high and the panel itself is approximately 2 foot by 4 foot?
So do
That's
we
fine.
just want?
I'm just
staff
thinking the
maybe to
one-
look and try to find a municipality that does have residential and see what they have and add that? Because I know we want to move forward with this, so.
Through you, I did try and take a look before trying to come up with
Yeah.
32, and they're really, again, I'll take another deep
Okay.
dive into it, but it doesn't appear that there are many municipalities that, if any, have very specific regulations when it comes to the actual size of the panels. But we can certainly look at putting in, apply the setbacks for an accessory structure not in the front yard. Maximum height of 8 feet, it sounds. And then I can see if we have anything, if there's any other municipalities that have a kind of a coverage.
I got it.
for it.
Want to say you better?
Here's the chair. To be honest, I don't really care what the other municipalities are doing.
It's not what they're doing, it's how they've written it.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm asking. If they already have something in writing, she's gonna look for what they've got in writing. Councilor Fana?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I agree with what Ms. Willick has just said. And if she has already looked into it and she couldn't find anything, I don't think she's going to find anything on a second attempt. So I would agree with a minimum lot size. So I would propose we just establish a minimum lot size and draw the line.
Are you recommending any lot size?
No, because I'm useless at estimating lot sizes. I'm going to let someone else do that.
Councilor Fana?
Thank you. Why recommend a lot size? Leave it up to the owner. If he thinks he can use his panel in his yard, fine, and if somebody builds a garage 20 feet high, that's his problem. That's my way of. Let people do what they want to do.
Any other information that you're looking for, Ms. Willis?
I believe that's good on the
That's
solar
good enough.
panels, if everyone's good with that.
No other questions on anything else? Okay, we'll move forward to,
Right.
oh, go ahead.
Just if I may very
Yeah.
quickly, just want to get confirmation that the revisions to the additional residential units and the home-based businesses, that we're good to proceed with those updated regulations.
Everybody's fine? Yes.
Okay, thank you.
4.2.3 zoning bylaw update, proposed regulations for camping trailer. Monsieur. No.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and obviously, I believe the gallery is interested in this discussion as is staff. Really from a perspective of completing our review and amendments of the zoning bylaw. This item remains outstanding and had been put off a few times for various reasons. We have provided as much information as we can on this particular piece so that there is some continued discussion. And again, I want to be clear in that this is not to set actual policy, but to actually discuss and certainly look at different options when it comes to dealing with the issue of camping trailers on municipal property. As all know, this has been basically battered around since 2017. And Madam Mayor has been kind enough to provide a fairly
Not Madam Mayor, Madam
Madam
Clerk.
Madam Clerk, sorry,
Thank you.
excuse me. Madam
Blame
Clerk
me
has
for
been
anything.
gracious enough to provide a very good write-up on this and a good chronology, I will say, with regards to, the original complaints back in 2017 with regards to a request for the town or the municipality to look at potentially, I would say regulating, but looking at including permissions on land use with respect to these camping trailers. This has gone on in previous council and has kind of bled into this council. And as part of our official plan, we are required to look at amending our zoning bylaw and bringing that into a more modern state, as it was last drafted back in 2014. I know there was attempts to look at amending this particular portion in 2017, 2019, 2020, and as recently as last year in 2025. There are numerous memos, recommendations from staff. There is ample information with regards to the original, I will say, public consultation on this piece that occurred back in 2020. And again, full comments on our portal back in those days that was open to the public for comments with regards to how this should be handled, and certainly some strong feelings right across the board. We've provided a lot of information with respect to what's going on in many municipalities that surround West Nipissing and beyond, and are looking for some continued discussion on this piece so that staff can have some proper direction and be able to present, I will say, a version 2 of our zoning bylaw so that we are better prepared and are better in a better position to have a public consultation, which is set to occur on the overall zoning bylaw review. And again, we're looking for some continued direction and discussion on this piece as a group. I will pass it back along to my colleague, Ms. Willick, as a planner, and see if, or leave it open to you, Mr. Chair, to guide that that discussion.
Thank you, Mr.
We remain available for any questions.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add, Ms. Willis, to the?
That was well covered. Thank you.
Perfect. So I'll open the floor to our counselors. Conseiller Farah?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree that the situation with travel trailers needs to be addressed, and I think everyone at this table also agrees with that. I think. I disagree that the way to do this is through a simple 3-paragraph zoning bylaw amendment containing 8 bullet points. The main purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment is to align land use policies with provincial regulations and make sure that the zoning bylaw conforms to the high-level goals set out in the official plan. So it's simply not the right way to bring in travel trailer regulations for many reasons. Any zoning bylaw amendment that concerns travel trailers has to be brought in conjunction with a trailer licensing bylaw. And I believe this was the original intention all along. I mean, it's a two-pronged process, and I don't believe we can isolate one from the other. When we last discussed this last year, the majority of council members agreed that any trailer regulations should entail a full consultation process with the public. And the last time the public were consulted on this was what, 5 and 7 years ago. I, for one, don't want to second guess my constituents and assume that we'll simply get the same answers. I want to hear what people have to say about this. And if this means another round of consultation, then so be it. If the public are to be consulted on this, I think they should be consulted on the entire package of regulations. So the required zoning bylaw amendments and the licensing bylaw, not just one piece of it. And this is what the Planning Advisory Committee and staff were recommending in 2019. 2 pieces. The current proposal, I think, does not address a lot of issues that would be dealt with through a specific trailer licensing bylaw, like fees, for example. And this is why I think moving forward like this is really not the appropriate way. you know, I know the point's been made that we were elected to make decisions, and I know this has been dragging on for many years, but our constituents still expect us to consult them on important decisions, and they also expect us to spend the time in considering them, debating the finer points, and exploring the various options. So, I mean, other bylaws that we passed were given far more consideration than what is now being proposed for trailers. So if we're going to do this, we need to get it right and not just rush through something for the sake of it. So I'm sure everyone will want to speak to this, but I would intend to propose for the time being that the only points we keep in 424.2 are 3 points. A, the restrictions that trailers cannot be occupied between the dates that we decided upon at the meeting, our last meeting, which was, I believe, November 30th to April 15th. Point B4, the setbacks, and point B5, provision of adequate sanitary services. I think we can easily agree on all of this, and we just have to commit to dealing with the rest as soon as we can.
Thank you. Councillor Larabi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I somewhat agree with what he said. And I would also would like to propose that we remove this trailer bylaw from the our official plan. Official plan needs to go right away. This is an octopus with a lot of tangles. And to hit every one of them, we won't be able, this is gonna be a rush job. So this, after that we've agreed on the laws and bylaws, then we add it to our bylaw on our official plan. But right now, it said if we can't come up with time tonight, the laws will be passed of what we had on the planning board. This is not what council would like to have on our official plan. So I'd say let's not rush to this. Council were in favor to have public consultation prior. Now things change to the planning, but that's not what council had originally agreed to. Okay, so this reminded me, I read through the package, and that brought back a lot of memories for me because I was there, but I'm the only one that was there. So I think everyone here should have firsthand information on what people want. And I think, like Councilor Farah said, we all want to protect the environment. We all want some rules, but not rushing. Thank you.
Mayor.
Right, I'd just like to clarify a couple of things because it needs to be noted, we are, and I've said this at several meetings, we are not approving anything tonight. We are not approving anything on a zoning bylaw, probably not for the next 3, 4, 5 months. There is an entire process that is being followed. So the statement that we are approving something tonight without consultation is false. The attempt here, the attempt the last meeting and the meeting before that, where we are trying to get to an initial draft to be posted for public consultation, an open house to be planned, an opportunity for people to come to speak to the provisions of the zoning bylaw. I have a feeling that nobody really cares about the lot setbacks in the industrial zones, and the people who are here tonight will show up and be able to say their piece. So we are not here tonight approving anything. We are trying to get to a first draft to open for discussion among the public. And so I've stated that before as at the opening of meetings, and I just want to be really careful that misinformation is not being presented to the public as far as what the process is or what we are doing here tonight, because all we are doing here tonight is trying to get to the first draft, like trying to get to the draft where we put it out and people have the opportunity to share their feedback either through email likely through a website form or in an in-person open house style meeting, that will take place once the document is ready. So we are not making a decision tonight. We are not approving a zoning bylaw tonight. And, I will say one more thing. You've heard us speak just previously about, little bits about solar panels or this or that or the other thing. And I think that it's really important to educate the public as to what a zoning bylaw is. So bylaw dictates land use planning across the municipality. This is not a set of rules that we are making up because we have nothing better to do. Every municipality in Ontario is required by law, by the province, to have a zoning bylaw. Every property within the municipality is given a zoning designation, and the use of that property is governed by the specific regulations contained within the zoning bylaw. So every piece of property that is owned by anybody in any municipality in Ontario is subject to the conditions of a zoning bylaw. So where we do have flexibility to adjust for local realities, this is not an optional piece of legislation. It's something that the municipality must have, and it is something that it is necessary, and it is everywhere. The only place that you do not have zoning bylaws is in unincorporated townships or unincorporated areas. So I just want to kind of clear up some maybe misconceptions about what the zoning bylaw is and how it impacts residents and why we're going through this exercise right now.
How do you dispute zoning bylaw?
Sorry.
How do you dispute?
Unfortunately,
It's a provincial rule, but the municipal people.
unfortunately, you can't speak to
Sorry, okay.
the meeting, all right? That's the issue.
Well, that is.
Hold on, Pete. This is a municipal meeting, can't speak to it within the meeting. We will, like the mayor said.
What was the
we'll
point of
open
the
it.
meeting then?
Please let me speak.
People don't want that in there.
We will, and can you let us finish for a minute, please? Though?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So any other questions or comments? Yes.
What about the abattoir and also the other?
We're gonna have a meeting.
Over the past few days, I've heard from residents on both sides of the argument, but the one main thing that's been consistent is that most people want the opportunity to share more feedback with us and their perspectives before we even create a draft. So I personally
Common sense.
would like to hear some more feedback from them before we make a decision, ensure it's a balanced decision. So perhaps we could do the consultation before we make a draft. I'm not sure what everybody else is feeling, but I will let you all share your perspectives.
Thank you. Monsieur Pedro.
Mr. Chair, you agree avec Monsieur Nichols? Qu'est-ce qui enrage le monde ici, là? C'est qu'on a mis de l'encre sur le papier, là. On a mis pas plus que deux trailers, deux autres trailers d'écrasiens, puis tu vas changer de ton zoning si comme une chose. C'est ça qui piss off le monde. Sorry, Madam Mayor. I didn't know how else to do it. Still say it. Upset. So a zoning is coming, but after the consultation with the people. That.
Councillor Resto.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of things I wanted to share. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I'm currently in Thunder Bay right now. I drove up from West Nipissing this morning, so I had about 12 and a half hours of alone time to think about tonight's agenda items and things that we'd be discussing. And one of the things that just kept going through my mind was a little story about my daughter. And bear with me, it'll be relative when I'm done. My daughter was in high school. She graduated with honors. Once she completed that, she went to her post-secondary, which was at Laurentian and Trent University. She completed her pre-med biology and her Indigenous studies dual major with honors again. When she completed that, she moved into her, I said this in my head 10 times, and I'm going to forget the word. Geez, I can't remember. And it's probably the 12.5-hour drive. She completed her master's, her 2-year master's program in Indigenous health research. And very proud to say that in a couple of weeks, she'll have completed, she went from her master's into her PhD studies, and she's going to be finishing her first year in a couple of weeks. Now, the relevance to that compared to what we're talking to this evening is she was in high school in 2017. She's 2 years from achieving her PhD. We're still talking about a trailer bylaw here. In that whole spectrum of time, it's not reasonable. I don't like when I hear people say we're rushing through this, because we're not. We had an opportunity last week to spend 2 to 3 to 4 hours just speaking about this one issue. And we lost that opportunity because we decided not to have the meeting. I'm sure the information that we received that day, I can appreciate that we only received it that afternoon, but in a 4-hour session, I'm sure we could have walked through that very comprehensively, looked at each of the points, related that to the draft that we had in front of us, made recommendations to staff to make adjustments to bring back to us tonight. So we lost that opportunity. So now we're back where we were prior to last week, prior to the week before. We need to make a decision on this. We need to move forward. When we talk about consultation, we look at the general timelines. If we're going to look at setting up consultations, which we've already done, and I don't say this disrespectfully, we're not going to hear anything new. We're going to hear people say, yes, we've had family gatherings for 21 years, and it might have been 18 years when they did the last consultation. The people who want consultation, who want to prolong this not having a bylaw in place, are the people who don't want to have a bylaw in place. We have this consultation session. Let's say we do it this summer. It's already April. We're going to move into the last couple months of our term. We won't be able to determine anything. It's going to get punted to the next council that comes on board. Like we already said, we didn't want to do, because we want to achieve milestones here. I can almost guarantee you that if we come back in a new council, whoever's not at the table, if there's any changes, if there's wholesale changes, who knows? The first thing they're going to say is, we weren't here for this discussion. Let's do more consultations. And it's just going to get punted further and further and further down the road. We have all the information in front of us. We know what the concerns of all of those individuals sitting in the gallery tonight are. We've heard them. We know. I've gotten emails, I've gotten phone calls. I know what their concerns are. I bring those concerns to the table here, the 9 of us as elected officials, to have a discussion, to develop a document, to bring back to those same people in the gallery and the other constituents across West Nipissing, so that they can have a look at something on paper. I'm 100% not a fan of just kicking this down the road again. I don't like the idea of saying, we'll just punt this to the next council. Because I'll give you another example. Did we do that with the water issue in Verner? We say, well, we'll let the next council take care of that. We don't have to have that discussion here. We'll let them deal with this. Of course we didn't. We're a very progressive council. If you look at the last term, what our constituents had, where we couldn't even have meetings, and we had to have MMAH babysitting our council on one of these screens here to make sure that meetings went ahead. Fast forward to where we are right now. In the last 3.5 years, and all of the things that we've achieved as a council for our constituents. I don't know how we're going back in time to saying, yeah, we don't want to make decisions. We want to push this ahead, because I guarantee you, if we're going to do consultations, this is not going to get done in our term here. It's only gonna move to next term. And like I said, I'll just say this before I stop. The next council that comes in is gonna say, these were consultations with the last council. Let's do more consultations with us. And it's just gonna keep getting pushed down the line. I've heard concerns from individuals, and one, I had a phone call actually this morning, and then I said that my last thing was my last, this is my last. Beautiful conversation with a lady in my ward. She's very concerned about the amount of trailers that were, she said in the document right now, it says X number of trailers, is that what's gonna be there? And I said, I don't know, because we have to have this discussion as a council. We have to throw numbers, we have to throw a number of trailers, different situations, different environmental concerns. And she said, because our family's been having gatherings on our land with X number of trailers for so many years. And I said, we want to try to get the best of everything, make sure that it's balanced, make sure it respects family gatherings, weddings, all those kind of things that have happened. But we also have to be realistic in the situation where there are areas in our municipality where people have multiple trailers on land, and they're not respecting the environmental concerns. That's a fact. We can't just say that it's not happening. We know it's happening. We have to be the decision makers, put something together to bring back to our municipal constituents so that they can comment on this. Because right now there's nothing. So what the lady did mention was, we follow the rules. Those individuals who don't follow the rules need to be tape à main. And I said, you know what? I agree with you 100%. We don't have any rules. So what standard do we hold these people to? And she said, I guess you're right on that point. We're not here to punish people. We're here to set a policy here for trailers that meets the best of our ability. Environmental concerns, the concerns of our constituents and what they've been doing over the years, and for future generations. We need to take action here. I'm disappointed when I hear, let's wait. Like I mentioned, when I started my little soapbox here, my daughter was in high school when this council started talking about this. And in 2 years, she's going to achieve her PhD. And we can't make a bylaw on trailers in that whole time. It doesn't make sense. We got to move here. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or? I'll see that be.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It won't guarantee it won't be that long. That same counselor, I'm not getting in trouble, the same counselor that just made that speech that, we should move on, was saying, what's the rush when we brought the OPP subject on the table? But anyways.
You're not going to go there. Oh my God. We made a decision that night. We didn't have a document in front of us.
Point of order on
Yes.
that, like, we need to stay on topic and words should not be directed as an attack on person. We're talking about issues, not people, please.
So Councilor Larrabee, if you have
Yeah,
something.
take it. Oh, yeah, I got something else to add is that, what some of our council are pissed off at is because this is being shoved down our throat. We had agreed to have public consultation first, and then we sit at the table and then we hash it out. But like Councillor Farrar said, that was brought in back door. Brought in by the planning board, okay? So that, let's do it, we want to do it right. And some councillors are asking, let's step back, make the public consultation. If it takes a week or two, then let's sit at the table and come with an answer.
Councilor Duval.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to start off, there were some rumblings and maybe I shouldn't partake in this conversation because of my employment with the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority. I got a few people who asked, so I did reach out to Mr. Kassan and I was reassured that there is no conflict, there is no pecuniary interest. Therefore, that's why I'm partaking in the subject. So that I just wanted to make that clear off the top. Just so that, you know, it can maybe save some people time from submitting complaints that are not valid. So just what I'd like to say is I do agree that we need to start working on this and at least putting something on paper. I do like the idea that Councillor Farhan brought up. Those are 3 points that definitely need to be looked at. The number of trailers is a difficult one to do. I did bring up 4 trailers at the last meeting and 4 permanent trailers as a starting point, you know, and I haven't heard other numbers, but to me, it only makes sense because say you own a property and you have a dwelling. Currently, our zoning bylaw allows for 3 accessory structures. So why would a property that's vacant with travel trailers not have to follow our zoning bylaw to similar degrees? The other aspect is it's not that there can't be more than 4. There's a way to do that. You can apply for commercial zoning, a zoning bylaw amendment. There's ways to do so. And if you have more than 4 permanent trailers, I like to think of the idea that if my property with my house, and then I have 6 one-bedroom cabins all hooked up to water and sewer, some with permits, some with no permits, to me, that's a campground. You have a house and 6 one-bedroom cottages that you're either renting out or it's for your aunts and uncles, your cousins, your nieces, nephews, siblings. To me, at that point, that is a campground. I don't know if there's any other way of saying that, because then you have trailer parks that are following all the regulations. They're paying the commercial, they're zoned commercially. And yet we have properties that may have 10, 12 trailers. There's nothing wrong, in my opinion, to have 10, 12 trailers, but maybe they should still be bound to meet the setbacks to property lines, to maybe meet, you know, ensure that you can prove that you have adequate services, to ensure that you don't have illegal structures, as we see on some of these photos that were provided to us tonight, the improper hydro installation. Like I said at the last meeting, a lot of people do everything by the book and everything's okay. It's not those properties that these bylaws are looking to punish. We're looking to be able to help enforcement deal with the properties that just are problems. We see some trailers in some areas. I've seen some that are practically on the beach, which you know is a floodplain when the water gets high, but they're on the beach and come August. You better hope that they move it from that beach but it's difficult to do that without the bylaws stating the setback. So that's a great idea. There's also these sewage systems that you see within the photos that were provided. You know, I won't get into details, but there's definitely many that do not have proper sewage systems, and they may say they do, but when you go out there, there isn't. And this would help the authorities deal with those situations, whether it be the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority, or the township, to help bring it to the attention of those authorities. So those are just 2 of the ideas. Then when I'm looking through the list that's given to us, you know, you see floodplain there. That's where I brought up the setbacks. A lot of people, like a house, you're not allowed to have your windows and doors under the flood elevation, but trailers, there's no bylaw, and people have trailers. Actually, some of them you could argue that half the trailer would be located under the flood elevation. That's not safe. That's not okay for the environment in a flooding event. So it's simple to just make them push back and meet those setbacks. The other one that's big that I'm surprised we haven't talked about is that financial assessment aspect about the vacant land and using municipal services without contributing. There is an inadequacy there, and it's inequitable. It's just not fair in my opinion, and I'm surprised that hasn't been brought up. I do agree with what Councillor Restool said. We can't necessarily keep pushing it down the line, but I do believe maybe it is a little strict right now the way it's written. So that's why I brought up the four permanent trailers, and then at least it starts somewhere. You know, you just have 4 across the board. There's still these aspects. Nobody's being forced to remove their trailers. They may just have to comply with certain criteria because it's very near to being a campground. And then maybe they just need to meet a setback. And if somebody decides to put in a random pipe in the ground, then maybe there's a way to enforce that at that point. Or if somebody wants 10 trailers on a property hooked up to water, well, what is happening to that water afterwards? Does there have to be a pump out agreement with the town at that point? Do you have to show proof that you're using a honey wagon going to a sewage disposal site? There's so many things that come into play that if there's nothing in writing, then we can't even tackle any of it. So thanks, Councillor Ferrand, for bringing up your ideas. I still think we could maybe go slightly further, but I'd be more than happy with that start. To also, like Madam Mayor said, we have something on paper that then we can start the consultation, and then people can be involved and maybe talk more about the numbers. But I still think we should have some sort of number in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Monsieur,
I do agree. There needs to be rules, but not rules straight across the board. Don't paint everything with the same brush. You have areas where you have lakes at capacity or near capacity, they should have rules. Maybe 2 trailers, 1 trailers, I don't know. But there's some areas in this municipality that if you go, you pay everyone the same. We have stores in our community up north that they depend on the trailers camping. They need alcohol, they need chips, they need that. So that's how they live. And if we take away that farm, we probably gonna shut them down. Because that's how they make their money in the summertime. So there are areas where there is some problems. There are areas that have problems right now. And it's covered under the municipal bylaw, the municipal standard. Like I see junk, boards all over the place. That needs to be addressed. It doesn't need to be addressed through the municipal bylaw trailer. But we have standards that, you know, they could knock on the door, say, hey, you gotta clean up your yard. So everything falls on the trailer's fault, but a lot of it could be addressed without the trailer bylaw. It seems like we're keeping everything to force that trailer bylaw. And I'm saying, I'm not against it. What I'm for is let's have the community have their peace, have their minds, say what they want, and then let's come back to the table here and let's work out on something. Some areas need more, some areas need less. Okay, so there's a lot of issues in this. So you don't paint everything with the same brush.
thank you. Councillor Resto.
You, and sorry if I'm jumping in front of anyone who hasn't spoken yet. I know I used considerable amount of time earlier and this will be a lot shorter. I agree with everybody around the table. But like I said in my first comments, we need to get this on paper. I don't disagree with you, Councillor Larrabee, when you say that there's different areas, there's different impacts around the community. Well, we got to get those on paper. And to be honest, again, I think we've all had enough calls, emails, discussions with our constituents that we can at least put together a draft, like Madam Mayor mentioned, to bring back to the community members to get their input on. I don't think there's anything, if the 9 of us sit around the table, look at this document, develop the draft bylaw, that we're going to completely miss. We're going to bring people's voices through us at the table here. And I'm fairly certain we can put together a pretty good draft of a bylaw. Pretty sure we can. Councillor Ferrand, Councillor Larrabee, you're bringing people's concerns to this discussion. You'd bring those same concerns when we have the pen in our hand and we're drafting a document. But when we just sit here and say, we have to wait, we have to wait, we have to wait, we're not moving anything ahead. We're not bringing any of those voices to the paper. We're just saying we have to wait and push it down the road again. Thank you.
Thank you. Monsieur Ferrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to pick up on a point that Councillor Restul. I'm not proposing that we simply wait. I'm just proposing that we have it as a separate process and not try to do it through the zoning bylaw amendment, this current zoning bylaw amendment. I think it needs a trailer licensing bylaw in conjunction with its separate is bylaw amendment, zoning bylaw amendment. And we can do that now. We can do that maybe as in parallel to how the zoning bylaw amendment is going to continue. But we can't ask people to comment on just part of a regulation. And that's what we'd be doing if we just present what was suggested in the draft. So we're not suggesting to just wait. We're just suggesting to do it in a different way.
Thank you, Councilor Ferrand. Just 1 second, Councilor Resto, Madam Mayor. I know we're way past our break time. So, and our break is only usually about 10 minutes. So Councilor Resto, please hold your question. I still haven't said my piece either. So, Madam Mayor, back to you. Or can I?
Okay,
do it from here?
you could do it.
Okay,
from your chair.
okay. So, Madam Clerk, I need a seconder to take a break. Apparently, keep saying Gagne, Madam Mayor.
I never get to do the break. What's that?
Hold on, please, 1 second.
Councillor
Excuse me,
Gagne.
Just 1 minute.
1 second, just 1 second, please. Just for 1 second so we can read it, and then you can chat.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Mayor Rochelle. At approximately
12.
8:12 PM, a motion was tabled for a 10-minute recess.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, chat.
No, Jamie's around. Jamie's in there. Yeah, and it's just got it. It's just.
Like to start so we could, we'd like to start so we
We
can
can
finish.
finish.
Please. Thank you. So before we went to break, we were still having discussion about the zoning bylaw and the camping trailer report. When we left Counselor Stool, your hand was up.
Yeah, you guys couldn't see it, but I actually had it up through the whole break too. I was waiting patiently. Just kidding. But yeah, seriously, through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Fennan's point, before the break. Honestly, I don't care how we get there. I just want to get there. And what I'd like to suggest is if there's something that's being proposed, like we ask staff when we bring a request to them, what's the timeline? If we bring an ask for information, is it going to be next meeting? Is it going to be in 2 meetings? If you're proposing a separate process with those 2 discussions at the same time, married, and we can move them forward. I don't want to step on staff's toes here in terms of planning. I don't know if pulling this out of the official zoning bylaw overall document is doable to have it as a separate piece. But I'd like to request, certainly not to put you on the spot, Councillor Fenna, but what's your thought for timeline? Because like I said, I'd really like to see this get done. And just to say, let's take it out and do it separate. When's that going to happen? Who knows? We had some meetings, special meetings for this issue. Are you proposing that we have a special meeting again in the near future? I'm just looking for a time frame so that we can get something going, get something on paper, and get this. Like I think I mentioned in my rant, we've done a lot of awesome work the last 3.5 years. I don't see any problem with the 9 individuals sitting around the table tackling this issue and getting it done as well this term. So just looking for time frame.
Thank you. Councillor Fenna, if you want to answer to that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, to be honest, I don't know. I would say, as I said previously, as soon as possible. I don't understand the timelines enough to be able to say to you, I think we can do it in this amount of time, and we would have to defer to staff for more advice on that. But as soon as possible.
Thank you. Councillor Ioannoni.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For me, it's all about efficiency. I think we could put some propositions on the table and then do a consultation with the residents to give us their feedback and to try to move this forward in a proper manner and in a proper timeline also. This has been dragging out for a while. I wish I didn't have to actually put stiff regulations, but there are laws that are being broken and we need to address those. Without those regulations in place, we can't reinforce them with bylaw, with the matter of conservation. So for me, I would like for the missing parts to be addressed tonight. And if we need some research done by staff, we can do those and then set a consultation date with residents so that we can move this forward and listen to our residents in regards to their concerns. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Larrabee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So are we talking about having public consultation first, or we put something on paper first?
Oh, we haven't gone there yet.
Okay, and to, I guess to tackle the comment that misinformation was brought forward, I got a little, but that was brought from staff. The regulation which council proposed will be incorporated into the second draft of the zoning regulation, which will be provided to the public for their input. If council direction on camping trailers regulation is not provided at the April 7th meeting, public consultation will proceed based on the version 1 regulation, which were recommended by the Planning Advisory Committee. So just to clarify that was in our notes. that they will be sending the version of the act to for this bylaw. So,
For consultation.
yeah, but it was still mentioned.
Yeah, before the consultation. Okay, thank you. Other comments?
If I can, Mr. Chair, just as your CAO and obviously to provide the best advice that I can. And to your comments, Counselor, we are just looking for direction. And the reason for the purpose for the meeting today was necessarily to flesh out exactly where we would stand or where you would stand as a council to provide us some direction. We can proceed with our plan to do the open house and public consultation with the public to advance the next version of the draft of the zoning bylaw. Again, decisions are not being made. Nothing's being stamped in stone and concrete. This is just a continuing discussion on how we can approach this and how we need to deal with it through a zoning, as a regulation through zoning. Zoning deals with basically permissions of land use. And that does include, unfortunately, it does include camper trailers. The licensing or registration bylaw is a completely separate animal that would probably require a lot of discussion that we are certainly as staff, we are prepared to provide as much information on that piece as we can through our research with other municipalities and whatnot. But what we're looking for to move forward through the zoning amendment process and review process, and that's the entire zoning bylaw, not just camper trailers, but everything that we've discussed over the last number of weeks, is to be able to kind of put that version forward so that the public can reasonably have a look at it, make comment on it, bring up their concerns, whatever the case may be, and that's so that we can then again present whatever information you need as council so that we can continue that discussion so that we can effectively get this done in I will say, a timely manner and in the most informed manner. So that is what we're really looking for from a staff perspective from you as council, is to just put forward what you think would be the best approach collectively to meet, the global needs of all the constituency. But we are really, what we're asking for is your support on that is just provide us with some direction so that we can advance the next draft and continue down the line on the process to continue to sort of review this whole process.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for your answer. If I may, it seems like we're getting pushback from having public consultation. We've asked at first to have public consultation in every community, like we did the first time. And now seems like we're looking at maybe one meeting for public consultation. This is kind of the feeling I'm getting. So why not start with what council a year and a half ago had said? We're new council, except, was there. Let's hear what the people are gonna say first. This is how we started the last time. And people got their say. And now I bet you there's gonna be only one meeting and everybody's gonna cramp into that one meeting. And that's not what was proposed with council. And like I'm not against having laws for trailers, but I'm against what we're being pushed. That's my beef on this.
Thank you. Trustee Gagné.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Conseiller Lagabé, I don't know why you think you're being pushed. We will consult the public. But I think you want to do the consulting before. I don't agree. I think we should put something on paper as a draft and then consult the residents so that they can tell us, I don't like this and this is why. This I like because I think people are not taking care of their sewage the proper way. They're not taking care of XYZ, and those are good reasons where we should have regulation. So we're gonna get at the same place, but it's gonna be more efficient doing it. Let's put a draft on paper, consult the residents. Maybe there's something we forgot. Maybe there's things they like. For sure, there's things that they won't like, but at least then we'll have something to start to work with, because right now we have nothing to work with. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Conseiller Ferrin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, as Mr. Pilon said, staff are looking for direction, and I'm going to make a proposal along the lines of what I suggested earlier, that we keep section 424(2), but only point A on the winter restrictions, point B4 on the setbacks, and point B5 on the sanitary services. The rest will be.
Hold on, Conseiller Ferrin. Hold on for a second. Oh, they're still there.
Just.
Okay. Conseiller Ferrin, go ahead.
Okay, did you hear all of that?
Wait,
No.
Let's start over.
Okay. Uh, So, Mr. Pilons pointed out that staff needs direction on this zoning bylaw amendment. And so I will make my proposal along the lines of what I said earlier, that we include 424(2), but only point A on the winter restrictions, point B4 on the setbacks, and point B5 on the sanitary services. The rest will have to be a separate process where we will look at another bylaw, zoning bylaw amendment combined with a licensing bylaw and seek, and we can decide what form of consultation and what form of that consultation is going to take as part of that process. But for tonight, so that we can continue this zoning bylaw amendment process, that we only include what I've suggested. So that's my suggestion.
Thank you. Other comments, Madam Mayor?
Through you, may I ask a question to Councillor Ferrin?
Yeah, absolutely.
In regards, so the travel, the sections that you've referenced refer only to vacant property. Is there a reason why you don't want to include section C? Because we've already discussed densities and lot coverage and all that other stuff on shoreline residential properties that are developed.
Conseiller Ferrin?
I would have to look at the draft again. I may have left out something, but
So point A and B address vacant lots, and
Yeah.
point C addresses lots that contain a principal dwelling unit. But also reference the setbacks and the service.
Let's have a public open forum.
We got 4.24, see?
4.2, A,
I'm almost
like
done.
the entirety.
Sorry, I'm just waiting to see if Mr. Ferrin.
Yeah, I just.
I'm almost there.
Yeah.
Yes, C, but without the number of trailers.
So C, 2 and 3.
Yes, apologies, sorry, yeah, I missed that.
Okay, is everybody clear?
No, go ahead, Madam Mayor, because I'm not.
You still have to call in
Yes.
everything. So, from my understanding, through you, Mr. Chair, the proposal on the table so that we can move forward is 4.2.4. the draft, which would then go forward for public consultation and public input, would include section A, section B4, B5, and then section C2 and C3. Is that correct, Councillor Ferrin?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Okay,
Okay, so. But only that would
that
be
would,
utilized to move forward.
that would form a part of the overall draft 2 zoning bylaw that would be put online for a public consultation meeting, which I think staff has tentatively booked for April 23rd. And it would delete
The rest.
the ones that Councillor Ferrin has indicated and leave the rest on for public consultation.
Okay. Conseiller Rival.
Thank you, through you. So C3, which one is that exactly? I get, sorry, yes.
So it's for R1, 2, R1, R2, SR, RR, RU, A1, which all lots which contain a principal dwelling, travel trailers shall not be permitted to be used or occupied for more than 14 consecutive days.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's what council.
You can't put crown land for longer than.
Excuse me.
On your private property. Makes sense. Please.
Yeah,
Conseiller
I'm not sure if that's what Councillor Ferrand had brought up, the 14-day. I think he was speaking about, it was to be the minimum setbacks to meet the similar to the zoning, depending which zone you're in. So whether you're in R1, R2, R3, like you'd have to meet the setbacks and to the water, similar if it's vacant land. And then I believe it was regarding just proper sanitary like servicing for both vacant and rural
Yes.
or residential. I believe that's what he was getting at.
Yes. Sorry.
Not so much the 14-day limit.
No.
So I don't know.
Councillor Ferrin, is that like you've got it in
Yeah,
front of you, so I just
C2.
want to be clear on your
Yeah, C2 only.
C2 only.
But sorry, that's what I mean is C should also have 5 from B. If you know what I mean? Like it should still show the sanitary sewer, if that's what you were mentioning. Sanitary services, but C doesn't have any mention of that. What I mean, yeah, section.
Okay. Does that make sense to you, Councillor Ferrin? We duplicate
Yes, thank you, Mr.
B5 in under C.
Yep.
Ms. Wellick, you're good. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. My apologies.
No, that's okay.
So I'm just trying to.
What basically, I know, which is fine. So basically what we're talking about is the 3 sections that Conseiller Ferrin has spoken of is something that I'll put to a vote to see if we're okay with moving those forwards in the, okay, I'll deal with that after. Conseiller Resto.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, just going back to my previous comment, I don't have any opposition. I know we're gonna, poll straw vote this in a couple of minutes, but I'd also like to see as part of this, a commitment, and I'm not gonna put Councillor Ferrin on the spot again for a date, but I'd look to staff to say, when can we schedule a meeting to have that more comprehensive discussion so we can keep that moving forward, because I don't want to lose sight of getting this completed in its entirety while we're here during our term at the table.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I just can answer that question. So, Councillor Restool, with a draft 2 prepared, staff is prepared to schedule a public meeting and open house for April 23rd. Is that, and what's it?
No,
Oh, you're
I
talking about
understand
the
that
whole-
part. I'm just talking about the whole. I know Councillor Ferrin is proposing to put certain sections in so that we can keep this moving forward with everything else that we've talked about in the different areas, but when can we schedule a meeting to have some real, sharpen our pencils and have a council discussion on the entire trailer bylaw piece to draft something that I'm gonna assume that once that's finalized is going to supplant these 4 or 5 points that we're putting in for the time being. I just don't want to lose sight of getting this done and just saying, okay, we've done this, so we're okay for now.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so I would assume that the process is gonna look like, if we can come to some sort of agreement here. The April 23rd meeting will happen. We will have a lot of public input and consultation, I'm sure both in person, through email, and whatever other means that residents choose to provide that feedback. The zoning bylaw itself will come back to council after that fact with the results of the public consultation in hand. But you're also looking for a commitment of this council to relook at the licensing bylaw sometime within that immediate timeframe.
Just before October 2026.
Okay. I mean, we might be able. I don't expect a whole lot of input on the other parts of the zoning bylaw. We might get a little bit, little nudges here and there with abattoirs and all that kind of stuff, but
Monsieur Pilon.
If I may, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, it does have basically a set schedule based on the input that we're getting today. We're doing a public consultation on an open house, I will say, on the 23rd of April. That will help inform version, I will say, 3 of the draft document for the entire zoning bylaw. And we'll come back to council. When is that? You can talk about just rough timelines, Ms. Willick.
Yes, through you, just a rough timeline. We're looking at the open house being on April 23rd, hopefully bringing a version 3 and a summary of the engagement. The comments we received in person at that open house and also submitted in writing and by email for the May 19th council meeting. And then the version 4, based on the changes that council agrees to from that engagement summary, the first week of June, the statutory public meeting at the end of June, the adoption at the August 11th meeting, which is the last council meeting before the late period.
Thank you.
Sorry if I
Absolutely.
can inform that we do have a draft licensing bylaw already drafted up. I think it was done
It's February.
last February or so, according to the mayor. So that work
Not
is,
Madam Mayor.
Madam, my apologies. So
I know, I call you counselor. So
so that could speed things up as well, but we could look to include that discussion at some point. Any of these, I think we'd like to have some final direction on the actual zoning bylaw that deals with this particular issue before we jump in. Correct me if I'm wrong, staff out there, before we jump into a licensing bylaw.
Thank you.
So.
Councilor Nicole.
Thank you for you. So could somebody please just confirm, if council accepts these 3 ideas tonight, then we will have the open house and the public can share their ideas and their input on the trailer numbers themselves and what we potentially agreed to tonight. So okay, thank you. Sorry. Thank you.
Don't say you're going.
Did you say trailer numbers?
Like amount per lot size.
It's not in this, it's not in the items for discussion right now.
But it still can be discussed.
It's
No, I
still to be
meant like
discussed
at the public consultation, they can share their input on those ideas.
on those items.
Yeah,
We
sorry.
would appreciate your.
Councilor Ferrer.
I just want to elaborate on that point. They, of course, they can share their comments on numbers, but there would be a separate process and a separate consultation process to deal with all other aspects of the zone, of the trailer regulations. which would combine an trailer licensing and another zoning bylaw amendment.
Councilor Larrabee?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we're proposing one public consultation. Okay, I would like to propose that every community in West Nipissing, that's gonna impact everyone. So we should have a public consultation in every community. One in River, one in Field, Cass Bay, Verner, Sturgeon, Levine. Then you're gonna have.
Councilor Taran?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Councilor Larrabee, that would be a separate process. We can decide at a later date when we begin that process, what form of consultation is going to take place. But for this current zoning bylaw amendment, we will stick to the process that Ms. Willick has just elaborated.
Thank you.
I think the proposals out there.
just to add a point, Mr. Chair, through you, we're hoping to have if council agrees to a certain point on camping trailers, our planner will amend a document. And we hope to have it posted on our website so that people can access it as early as tomorrow, maybe Thursday. So if people have concerns, whether it's solar panels, metal containers, camping trailers, they don't need to wait till the 23rd. There's an online process. People can submit their forms with their concerns or their recommendations. It's not all going to be negative. There might be, like Councillor Gagne said, but people with suggestions that we haven't thought of. But they don't have to wait for the 23rd to come to the open house. It can all be done in advance in writing.
Sure, thank you. Did you have your hand up? Okay. Any other? Don't see you, Resto.
You through, Mr. Chair, I appreciate Mr. Poulin's comments there, and I know because I've been contacted often through this method. If we're having a posting through our social media and Facebook, I know I'm not gonna guess 100%, but I guess we're probably pretty close to that of those constituents in the gallery tonight. Comment on Facebook, they search information on Facebook. So if we have that draft ready, if we can post it through our Facebook social media, I'm sure we can start getting those comments and feedback from our constituents across all 8 wards.
Thank you. Madam Mayor.
Sorry, just in relation to that, I want to be clear that any official comments, anything you post on Facebook is not considered official comments.
Right.
So if you comment on a Facebook post, it does not make it to the council table, does not make it as part of the staff report. There will be instructions online, which will include an online form through our website, an email address, or to show up in person for the open house. So I just want to be clear that a comment on Facebook is not considered as part of the public record and will not inform council deliberations. So if you're writing something on Facebook, hoping that we will see it, or that is what, we will consider that is, it's not necessarily a way to guarantee that your voice is heard, but there will be clear methods by which you can submit formal comment.
Thank you.
Just wanted to be like.
Councilor Larrabee.
If I may, I'd like to have my proposal voted on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Councilor.
And recorded vote.
It's not a vote, we're in a resolution.
I know, but
It's not a resolution.
I'm proposing that we have meetings in every community. So if council decide no, then it's gonna be a no, but if council decide yes, then we're going to have it in every community.
There are no recorded votes in committee because there are no votes in committee. They're informal votes to move items forward. We only have, we don't have You can,
If Councillor Larrabee would like to put forward a notice of motion to request that the matter be put to a vote at a future meeting, that can be, can notify us at the appropriate point in the.
Thank you.
or you, okay.
Okay. So are you gonna have to read this?
I don't, so do you want to wait and do a notice of motion, or do you want to have it voted on in committee right now?
Yes, I'd like to have it voted on committee so we know if we're gonna have one or we're gonna have it in every community.
What's that? Well, I mean, it's an informal vote, so you know, like, we'll put our hands up, but there's no recorded
Okay.
votes within committee discussions because they're informal discussion.
Okay, so Councillor Larrabee has asked that, oh, hold on. Are you guys voting or wanting to talk?
I'd like to say something.
Okay. Councillor Farah?
I suggest that we consider my proposal and then we consider Councillor Larrabee's proposal.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bond?
I was more or less just gonna speak to Councillor Larrabee's proposal. Based on the recommendations that are being brought forward, I don't believe that thorough, like doing 5-6 consultations regarding meeting setbacks and needing a permit that's already needed for sewage systems for, I don't believe that we would need 5 or 6 more consultations. I understand the sentiment about being worried that it would have been a lot of consultations down to 1, but we can't also forget that we have done, or past councils have done, very thorough consultations. So to have another consultation regarding these 3 smaller aspects is more than enough, in my opinion. And the timeline is very large as well, where people can provide thorough comments within that timeline. But in regards to Councillor Farah's suggestion as well, I agree we should vote on his suggestion that was brought forward, because I do think that the number of trailers based on zones, lakes of capacity, all sorts of things, that's a whole monster of its own that I think we would have to tackle potentially with more consultation and potentially with more discussions, right? Not necessarily more like a consultation in each community, but in regard to what was proposed, I don't believe we need very much more consultation for that. It's following rules that everyone has to follow, essentially.
I just need to vote no when it comes.
Oh, okay, so we need to move this along. So we're gonna just put a vote or propose a vote on the comment or the recommendation that Conseiller Farah has put forward on the 3 items that he recommended. So is everybody in favor of moving for those 3 recommendations forward? That's passed.
I have a question.
Oh, you have a question?
Sorry.
Sorry.
And thank you, through you. Instead of the dates, do you think we could change it with the timing to be determined based on weather and site conditions rather than specific dates? Because as we saw this year versus last year's winter, it's 2 totally different winters and might be able to go in February. I just think the strict date a little restrictive myself. So I'm proposing we change the wording to be based on weather and site conditions as opposed to a set timeline calendar. Yes.
Madam Clerk?
A bylaw is a permissive document. It has to have specificity. It can't have subjectivity. Does it look like a good day to get out of your camper? We can't do that.
So, and I'm sorry, what's the date?
On your property.
Written down. I didn't.
It was
November 30th, I thought we were going.
April 15th to November 30th.
Yeah. But you can't.
December 30th.
That gonna be discussed at a public meeting, those dates? No, I'm not supposed to talk, but I mean, you're giving us these dates.
It will be discussed.
I mean, it's not written in stone that you cannot go to my trailer to
Okay.
go snowshoeing on these dates. You know, it doesn't
It
make
will be
sense.
discussed.
Sorry, it does
Yes.
just doesn't make sense.
Thank you.
That's why
Do
we
you
want
need
it.
the open mic or do you have to?
Okay, let's move on for this meeting. It's been long enough.
About this meeting.
So again, a show of hands on the proposal from Conseiller Ferrand. It's carried. Now we'll go to Conseiller Larabee's proposal to have Conseiller Ferrand.
So just explain the people, the open house. What we're gonna take from them? Which subject? Which items exactly?
Everything's not in the entire zone.
So the public open house is in regards to the entire zoning bylaw that is being proposed. Much of it will not be contested. Much of it is unchanged from what was the zoning bylaw in 2014. Probably much was unchanged from the original, or was that the first zoning bylaw? So it will be the entire zoning bylaw. Anything that is written in the document as the draft, as the proposed, you can ask questions or make comments on. It will be open mic. One person talks at a time. You need to identify your public comment. You sign in and identify your name and address. You can either.
Why would you do that?
Hey, please,
Well, that's ridiculous.
please, we'll be asking you to leave if you
I don't
comment
care.
once again, please.
Yeah.
Let's just get through the meeting.
Carry on, Madam Mayor.
The information provided will be recorded and provided to council as a summary report on the feedback. So, we get copies of the emails and comments. There is a summary provided by staff, and all of that information will be considered for future discussions on additional amendments.
So, in other words, what's gonna be on paper for you to consider is a suggestion. Then we go from there.
Any other question on that portion? Okay, so now we're gonna move forward. Recommendation from Conseil that it be that we have a meeting held in every ward, basically, or every community. So with the show of hands, who would like a meeting held in every community? Oh, sorry, that's the chief. No, okay, so before we move forward, I would like to say my 2 cents on this. It's been an hour and a half and I haven't said a thing, except for people, your turn. I believe that everybody is here tonight because they want to have their voices heard. And I believe that we need to have these open forum or this public forum done prior to us making all these determinations on the zoning bylaws. I do understand how we're gonna move forward and how the process is gonna occur. However, my fear is that when the time comes, it's gonna be everything, right? It's the whole zoning bylaw. And right now, most of the individuals, the community, it's about the trailers. So I believe what Monsieur Ferrand was also looking for was to hold these forms along with a bylaw for licensing separate from the whole zoning bylaw. So that individuals can come about the trailers and have their say and have their piece and not need to be there for the solar panels, for the CCAN, or for this or for that. That is what I thought, or my impression was how we would move forward better. From what I see from everybody now, that's probably not gonna happen. People are still, don't worry, people are still gonna have their say, people are still gonna have their votes. However, I firmly believe that a consultation is 100% required. We keep being told that there have been consultations in the past. Well, I also know, and I'm sure somebody can attest, that that consultation did not go well. It was not a consultation, it was more of disagreements and yelling and so on and so forth. I hope that this consultation, that when the public does come, respect the people that are there, respect the staff, and respect us as counselors. We will be there to listen. We will be there to take your information, even as far as at the break. I had about, I don't know, a dozen people call me and email me about this. And obviously there's a lot more. I counted probably about 80 to 90 earlier that have concerns. And I think we need to listen to their voice, and I think we need to listen to what they have to say, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are living it. Right? Some of us do have campsites and so on and so forth. However, they're the ones that are living it, and we have to make sure that we listen to our residents and what they have to provide us and the information that they have to provide us. But I totally understand with Mr. Fernandez's recommendation, the sanitation, the setbacks, and the timelines. That's a given. It's normal. We have to do those. There are other things in that bylaw that will be a given. That is just normal. And I don't believe anybody here doesn't agree that we need bylaws. I don't think anybody here doesn't agree that our municipality, and we need to protect our municipality and our environment. However, it's how to do it properly. And the one thing I will also add is, let's not forget that this was done in 2019, 2020. There's a little thing called COVID that occurred since that time. A lot of people's minds have changed. A lot of people's emotions have changed. A lot of people's processes has changed. So let's keep that in mind. And we're talking about a consultation that's over 8 years old, close to 8 years old. So I'm sure some new things, like the gentleman asked, talk to me outside. We have those incinerating toilets now, right? So for the sanitation part, all those things need to be taken into consideration, because we can send our bylaw officer and he sees that there's no sanitation. However, in that trailer, there might be an incineration toilet. However, he doesn't get to walk into that trailer because it's trespassing, right? So there's all sorts of little things that I think we need to listen to everyone before we make our final decision. And yes, I get it and I understand with the April 23rd consultation. However, I just hope that we're able to work with the trailer bylaw and the trailer licensing bylaw at some point in time, separate than our zoning bylaw. So that we can accommodate here. On that note, I'll pass it back to you, Madam Mayor.
We're gonna move forward with our regular meeting now. The discussion that probably many of you were here for is over. So if you would like to depart, I'll wait 30 seconds and let people head out in an orderly fashion. If anybody wants to stick around for the regular business accounts, I can guarantee you it's pretty boring, but you're more than welcome. You paying up for it.
I think.
Don't forget to ask Mark for the people.
Well, I know you guys have a hard job ahead of you. Above all, been made, full, and. Yep. At least that's where it's boiled down. Yep.
Understand.
Okay.
Oh, what a brave soul. Okay, so we're at number 5, our regular. First thing on the agenda is the moving up, sorry, is the consent agenda.
Oui, les dehors, ça ferait.
It is moved by Councillor Nicol and seconded by Councillor Sidi. Be it resolved that the consent agenda for the council and committee of the whole meeting held on April the 7th as presented.
Questions or comments? All in favor? It's carried. Planning.
It is moved by Councillor Jean Louis and seconded by Councillor Nicol. Be it resolved that Council for the Municipality of West Nipissing authorizes bylaw number 2026-26 to dispose of property located on Industrial Park Road, described as Part 6
Yeah.
on the where this
5.2. Zoning bylaw amendment. Sorry, she's got her.
I don't have the right resolution. We need to fire the clerk.
There we go.
It is moved by Counselor Nichol and seconded by Counselor St. Louis. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2026-27, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2014-45 to rezone certain lands located as part of Lot 1, Concession 12 in the Township of Hugo from extractive zone M3 to rural residential zone 2 shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
This was a planning application that happened before the term of this council. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, and so why are we only approving it now? Because, sorry, I'm a little confused this. Yeah.
Samantha can, either one of us can explain.
Through you, I may defer to Madam Clerk because this was before I was here. But in 2020, the Planning Advisory Committee heard the zoning bylaw amendment. Their recommendation was subject to a record of site condition being filed and the MTO providing their approval for an entrance. Obviously, a record of site condition does require some extensive studies. It does take quite a bit. So we've been waiting until they got those kind of 2 check marks done. And now that they have their record of site condition and we have the confirmation from the MTO that they're accepting of an entrance on the retained land, now we can move forward with the adopting the bylaw.
Other questions or comments? All in favor? It's carried. Thank you.
Next one. Right on now.
It's just correspondence, new business, industrial park.
Yeah, okay. It is moved by Counselor Nichol and seconded by Counselor St. Louis. Be it resolved that Council for the Municipality of West Nipissing authorizes bylaw number 2026-26 to dispose of property located on Industrial Park Road, described as Part 6 on Plan 36R13688, being part of Lot 7, Concession A in the Township of Springer, and having previously been declared surplus to the needs of the municipality to Denis and Jennifer Jodouin for the consideration of $38,000 plus applicable HST in accordance with bylaw number 2021-18, and that the appropriate municipal officials be authorized to execute documents necessary to give effect to this resolution.
Okay, I will just ask you to give a brief summary because when we were doing the review, I couldn't remember this one, but Madam Clerk, if you don't mind.
Certainly, Madam Mayor. So at one time, council had agreed to survey some lots in the industrial park as sort of a pilot project, and there were
LeBlanc Road. Industrial Park.
off of LeBlanc Road at the corner of Bay and LeBlanc. There were 4 lots initially surveyed. They were sold. They decided to sell another 4, so we surveyed another 4. 3 of those 4 lots have been sold, and this is the one remaining lot that had not been sold. So in last year's discussions regarding the disposition of the balance of the industrial park, I had brought this lot, this one remaining lot, and the offer for it at that same discussion, and council was agreeing to be disposing of that lot at the price, but not to proceed with the rest of the parks.
Other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Nichol and seconded by Councillor St. Louis. Be it resolved that Council for the Municipality of West Nipissing grants permission to Manitou Lake Lodge to access and utilize the Sturgeon Falls landfill site when local landfill operations are unavailable during the winter months.
Okay, questions or comments? All in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Nichol and seconded by Councillor St. Louis. Be it resolved that Council authorizes an exemption to the Municipality of West Nipissing's noise bylaw number 1999-75, request by Volta Metals to permit 24-hour drilling for a period of 30 to 60 days during the period from August 2026 to March 2027 at Burnt Lake Road in Sturgeon Falls.
Okay, so there's significant information included in your agenda package as well on your desk. There was some communication received from affected residents, and so I will open the floor to questions or comments. Councillor Nichol.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A few residents on Burnt Lake Road have reached out to me and they've explained they haven't been consulted or contacted by this company at all. The sound testing they didn't do, and any of the residents were home inside of their homes, so they find it's hard to accurately say if it's working or not. And they just think that there should be some more feedback from them given before we grant this exemption. And to add on top of that, they've also been drilling currently 24/7 on and off without us even approving it. So I'm not sure how that can even happen. Yeah, thank you.
Did you want any part of that answer?
If anybody has answered, I'd gladly.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank you.
As far as explanation of that piece, I know that Mr. Boulay has been having a discussion with that company, so.
I had discussions with both parties, the complainant and also the mining company that's doing the exploration work. Our bylaw did act on a complaint several weeks ago. Bylaw did approach the mining company and advise them that our bylaw, noise bylaw, stipulated that no construction noise shall be done after 9 p.m. To what point the mining company did reach out to see what could be done about that. We advised them that the only recourse they had was a noise exemption request to council. A further complaint was posted last week, I believe. I followed up with the resident and they were still hearing construction noise. I followed up with the exploration company and they have categorically assured me that no construction has taken place since bylaw was there after 6 p.m. They said their workers are off site. What they did explain to me is the rationale for drilling 24/7 is that they can get their drilling programs done quicker. The fall, winter months are more favorable for exploration work to be completed. And if they could have crews there 24 hours, their drilling programs would be done in a lot shorter timelines. But that we understand as well, if you're drilling 24 hours, that there will be noise. The company also took measures after the initial complaint to build soundproofing around their drill rig. And they had an engineering firm come in and do tests, decibel tests, which were below the minimum thresholds that MEC would require of a construction site. That being said, regardless of that, if the residents are still hearing construction noises, it's their prerogative to file complaints, follow up based on what our bylaw stipulates. So that's all of the information I have at this point.
Sorry, other questions or comments, Councilor Bonner?
Yeah, thank you. What are the hours for noise bylaw currently?
One construction noise from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m., I believe, Councilor.
7 a.m. Okay, thank you.
Councilor St. Louis?
And so I know it's kind of odd, and I don't know if you'd be able to answer, but what's the benefit to our municipality of them drilling? So what are they drilling for? I guess I should ask. I get some of the benefits that they're staying, whether in town and purchasing stuff and whatnot, but what they're drilling for, is there any benefit to our municipality?
If I may, Madam Mayor, like any other exploration work being done, there are exploration companies and they're exploring for rare minerals. And as they drill, they send the aggregate that they get to labs and find they raise more funds. They do more drilling until such time that potentially there's a mining operation. So that is essentially the role of a mining exploration company, which I did some reading on the project as well. It's a significant find. But those are the advantages. They do have crews, but you know, the potential, if we're looking long term, could potentially be mining operation.
Okay, Councilor Calderon?
But this is not taken accordingly like that. That we need to let them spread to whatever. Ça ne devrait pas être fait de nouveau 5. Ça fait moins. So,
C'est ça. Les compagnies qui s'en ici, ils savent à quoi s'attendre. pense que c'est pas la première fois. So, on a des rules en place. S'ils peuvent accommoder d'aucune manière, peut-être, là, mais bon, aller supporter les idées à gamin.
Councillor Steele.
Sir, Madam Mayor, are they drilling on weekends too, or is that just Monday to Friday? Do we know?
If I'm not mistaken, it was a 24/7 operation.
Okay. But right now, they're 7 days, but not 24 hours, correct? I would assume.
They're not 24.
They're not 24 hours, but are they going Monday to Sunday within the hours? You don't know?
I think what they told me as of last week is they're actually dismantling their equipment. They're done for this program. And they're sending their their aggregate to a lab to get results, and they're hoping to resume a new drilling program in the winter of 2020.
Okay, thank you.
My understanding, oh, sorry. My understanding, and there was some information included on your desk in regards to a public meeting that the company is holding a public information session. That will be taking place. Just looking for the date.
April 3rd, I believe,
Sorry, there's no date. April 17th.
or 7th.
6 to 9 PM at the Sports Hall of Fame.
Correct.
I would recommend if that is correct and they've ceased operations for the time being, it would mean that this request is not time sensitive.
Right.
If there were a member of council that wanted to make a motion to defer and maybe have an opportunity to attend the public information session and get more information. It is a new type of request. I don't know that we've dealt with one that considers a 24-hour noise exemption, but given the fact that there is impact to residents and economic benefits, we may be well suited to take a little bit more time to get some more information before we make a decision on this. So if there was a member of council who did want to make a motion to defer, council, yes.
So does the other drilling companies, like for gravel pits and all that, the quarries, what rules do they follow?
I might defer this one to our clerk, as we do have exceptions. I'm not sure about quarries, but I know we do for snow removal and stuff like that, but or for emergency repairs, but.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we have in the past received requests for noise exemptions from consulting firms who are doing highway work or that sort of thing, where they come to council and let us know what's going on. And we have given 24/7 for like I said, usually for highway work, to allow 24-hour work. I believe wayside pits and quarries, because they're on Crown land, they're not required to get our permission.
Okay. Councilor Nicol?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I make a motion to defer until after some of us have attended this information session?
Do I have a seconder for the motion to defer? Seconder, Councilor St. Louis.
Moved by Councilor Nicol and seconded by Councilor St. Louis. The matter be deferred to
After April 17th.
so the May 7th meeting, May 6th, whatever it was.
21st of April.
21st, we have one, it's late this month. We're in the 7th, so we have a meeting on the 21st.
Before the consultation.
No, it's after the consult.
We want to go to the next meeting. So to May 21st.
Sorry, question.
Yeah, just for clarification, on page number 3,
Yeah.
the meeting is April 4th at 6 to 9 PM.
Shoot. This is
Let me
April 14th.
April, sorry, 14th.
I'm sorry,
April 14th, 6 to 9 PM.
because it was off a website, it
Yeah.
had the information kind of scattered.
Just to make sure we have the right date for it. So
No, motion to refer to May 21st.
Yes, please. Sorry, I'll just say that for the record for any residents that are listening and interested in the Public Information Center is April 14th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Sports Hall of Fame. A question about, okay,
Just, yeah.
about the deferral,
Oh, no, sorry.
because the motion to defer is now on the
Sorry.
table. So I'm sorry, I'm just processing
Yeah.
this. Okay, so any questions on the motion to defer? Okay, all in favor? Carried?
It is moved by Councillor Nichol and seconded by Councillor St. Louis. Whereas council has discussed options for addressing concerns regarding the water discoloration in the town of Vernon, and whereas council has agreed to implement a water filter pilot program in designated areas in the town of Vernon to address ongoing concerns, be it resolved that council of the municipality of West Nipissing authorizes the implementation of the Vernon Water Filter Pilot Program.
Questions or comments? All in favor? It's carried.
It is moved by Councillor St. Louis and seconded by Councillor Nichol. Whereas a request for tender was sought for the brushing and ditching of Avenue du Lac, and whereas 3 tenders were received, whereas council concurs with the recommendation, be it resolved that the tender for brushing and ditching of Avenue du Lac be awarded to ProX Landscaping Limited in the amount of $112,470, being the lowest tender meeting all specifications.
Questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried.
It is moved by Councillor Nichol and seconded by Councillor St. Louis. Whereas a request for tender was sought for the Front Street rehabilitation from Michaud to Corsal, and whereas 3 tenders were received, and whereas council concurs with the recommendation, be it resolved that the tender for the Front Street rehabilitation between Michaud to Corsal be awarded to Miller Paving in the amount of $613,086.13.
Okay, questions or comments? Councillor
You want to go first, Madam Mayor?
Gagne, no, I'm sorry, no, I don't.
I just want to know what's the expectation termination date of the Front Street rehabilitation, because I know the last time we did this section, it was like late in the season. So do we have like, and are they kind of going to start and try to finish as quickly as possible?
Yes, and yes, the completion date is September 30th.
Okay,
It should be a lot quicker than the last portion because we had a lot of catch basin work on the previous section. A lot of that was done in-house last year by our crews, so it's mostly just going to be a shave and pave, which will be a lot faster than the previous section.
okay.
But September 30th is the
Deadline.
drop dead date.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So this is within budget?
Yes,
We
for
budgeted about 250 and we're only paying 62.
Yes.
Okay, other questions or comments? All in favor? Carried, thank you.
It was moved by Councillor Larrabee and I'll need another.
Okay, and a mover, please, Councillor Gagne, thank you.
It's moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Pellerin. Whereas a request for tender was sought for the Vernon Arena chiller replacement, and whereas 3 tenders were received, be it resolved, and council concurs with the recommendation, be it resolved that the tender for the Vernon Arena chiller replacement be awarded to Northland Group of Companies for the base price of $89,736.25, plus add-ons in the amount of $61,375 for a total price of $151,111.25.
And the budget, so am I missing stuff here? And the budget for this project was?
It's actually on the following page. So the budget for the overall project was $17,000.
Okay,
There are some other items that fall into that budget. But it still is about $100,000 below budget.
questions or comments? All in favor? Carried.
Yeah, I'll need another on this one.
Councillor Pellerin? Oh, sorry. Councillor Gagne, sorry. I'll go that side.
It is moved by Councillor Pellerin and seconded by Councillor Gagne. Whereas council has reviewed the proposed discretionary grant fee waiver application from the West Nipissing Child Care Corporation for the use of the Marcel Noel Hall room for their Christmas party. And whereas funding for the discretionary grants and fee waivers has been provided and approved in the 2026 operating budget, be it resolved that council approves the discretionary grant fee waiver application made by the West Nipissing Child Care Corporation, the amount of $700, use of the Marcel Noel Hall for the Christmas party.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. Sorry.
It's moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Pellerin. Whereas council has reviewed the proposed discretionary grant fee waiver application from Economic Partners for the use of the West Nipissing Hall of Fame for their annual general meeting. And whereas funding for discretionary grants and fee waivers has been provided for in the 2026 operating budget. Did you have a different number for me?
Yeah, if you read it, we'll just.
Okay.
Do it.
Therefore, council approves the discretionary grant fee waiver application made by Economic Partners in the amount of $380 for the use of the Hall of Fame room in their annual general meeting.
Okay, I'm just gonna pass the floor to Elisa because there was a slight change in their request since it came in and was added, and then we'll make an amendment.
Yeah, so when they saw it in the agenda package and wanted to clarify that they would like the Sports Hall of Fame and the kitchen, so there's rather than a fee waiver of 380, the fee waiver request is actually 650. Add the kitchen on as well.
So can I get a motion to amend to the total amount of 650? Councillor Restool, seconded by Councillor Nicol. Okay, amendment is on the floor. All questions or comments on the amendment? All in favor of, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if they want the kitchen, why don't they take these Marcel Noel halls?
Too big.
The Hall of Fame.
It's too big.
Yeah.
They only get maybe 70 or 80 people, so.
Okay. Good.
Usually they've had it at the museum.
Okay.
A couple of years. Okay, amendment is on the floor. Questions or comments on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment? Carried. Back to the resolution to approve the discretionary grant amended total. Questions or comments? All in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Pellerin and seconded by Councillor Gagne. Whereas council has reviewed the proposed discretionary grant fee waiver application from the North Bay and District Humane Society for the use of the Marcel Noel Hall for their vaccine clinic. And whereas discretionary grants and fee waivers are provided for in the 2026 operating budget, be it resolved that council approves the discretionary grant fee waiver applications made by the North Bay and District Humane Society in the amount of $1,400 for the use of the Marcel Noel Hall for vaccine clinic.
Okay, questions or comments? All in favor? Oh, sorry, Ms. Craddock?
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure council knows that the 1,400 is just for the first set of vaccine clinics. This is one where they do require to submit additional documentation if council is going to consider their whole fee waiver request. So I will bring that back once we collect the other amounts. Yep.
So this is for the one vaccine clinic, all in favor? That's carried, thank you. Okay, Councillor St. Emilio. But I know some. Yeah. Where are you doing? Yeah. 6.1, notice of motion for reconsideration of the flag protocol policy.
It is moved by Councillor Ferran and seconded by Councillor St. Louis. Whereas on July 8th, 2026, Council for the Municipality of West Nipissing adopted a flag protocol policy number 2025-233. And whereas notice of motion to reconsider the policy was given on March 17th, 2026 by Councillor Ferran, be it resolved that the flag protocol policy 2025-233 be reconsidered.
Okay, and so because it is a motion of reconsideration, we do need a 2/3 majority. So we need six. So questions or comments on the motion to reconsider? Okay, all in favor? George, question? Or sorry, Councillor Ferran, question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's not a question. I just wanted to explain a bit of why I brought this forward. We had a discussion in our last meeting as to whether an exception should be made to the flag policy in order to allow the pride flag to be flown for a month rather than the week that is allowed in the policy. Personally, I don't mind if the flag is allowed to fly for a month, but I do think that it should be done by amending the flag policy and not by making an exception for one group. So if we want to allow this, I propose we pass the motion. Otherwise, we leave the policy as is.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Councillor Russell?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Don't want to delay us too long to our end here, but I agree with Councillor Feta. I think with any policy that we develop here, we did that, we put it in place, and we've had a little bit of time to see it in action and see where we may need to make some tweaks to it. So definitely supportive of bringing it back and just taking another once over to see where it's at and where we can make effective changes.
Great. Other questions or comments? Okay, I'll take a vote. All in favor? I need 6, please. There we go. We are officially 4 minutes past curfew, so I will not give a mayor's report. And we will move straight to number 9, the adjournment, please.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Tellering. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2026-28 being a bylaw of the municipality of West Nipissing to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on the 7th of April, 2026 shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Cavanagh. Be it resolved that the council and committee, the whole meeting held on April the 7th, 2026 be adjourned.
All in favor?